Hey, I'm Greg. Chris is here.
Hello. Boiling sap.
Yeah, so we're boiling sap. Got to go in here. So I'm not sure exactly. I think maybe I started making syrup in either like 2018 or 2019, somewhere around there. 2024 now, and so Chris and I started boiling sap together before we started kayaking together. So been doing this a few years. It is a process that takes plenty of time. Now some people will think, well, if you want to boil the sap, you should just get a big pan and put it on your stove in your house. But the problem is that for every gallon of syrup you make, you need like 40 to 50 gallons of sap. And so that means you're boiling off 39 to 49 gallons of moisture. And that's a lot to put into your house. And also, folks have been known to end up with, sticky ceilings from boiling sap in their house.
Oh yeah, happened to me.
Yeah.
Had cat hair stuck on the ceilings, the cabinets. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got this to pretty good efficiency. Took a few years to refine it. I do actually start out with a paint scraper. So one of the issues that we have is that rust comes off the chimney. So I busted the rust with a wire brush, but I think some may still come off, so we'll start with water in the back, because we end up with, bits of rust in the back pan, so trying to avoid that issue.
Good idea, Greg.
Takes a little bit to get going. When I first put this together, I had an extra course of blocks, so it was taller and it was not nearly as efficient. So this is kind of up close and personal with the fire, and that works out pretty well. Got to skim the foam off.
Keeps things going smoothly, keeps the skin from burning at the sides, and it also provides more evaporated surface.
Yeah. So you might think, what you want is a really, really big pot, right? Or a big pan. But the advantage is to surface area. You want a lot of surface area for the fire to heat up the metal, and a lot of surface area for the metal to heat up the sap. And so there's no advantage really to having a really, really deep pot of sap. What you want is a really, really wide pot of sap. Looks pretty hot back there.
Seems like the foam mainly forms when we put fresh sap in there. But skimming the foam, a lot of fun.
This is basically a setup and filters for filtering grease. Have more specialized filters that we use later in the process. So this gets filtered, like the sap gets filtered before we put it in, and then once we're done with the bulk boiling, and before we bring it inside for the final boiling, just the final little bit. We'll filter it again then, and then after the final boiling, we'll put it through the big filter. The third stage of filtration is the trickiest. That we use an Orlan filter, which is like a really thick felty sort of material made specifically for this. Plus we also have some pre-filters inside it to get the bulk of the junk, because there is some stuff to filter out. There's some ash and other stuff like that, and then also like the niter, the sugar sand. Anyway, produces a very nice product if you do it right. It's tricky, but we'll get into that in another video. It's mainly a matter of keeping the syrup hot enough so that the viscosity doesn't go up and make it too thick to go through the filter, and also keeping it at the right sugar content, or just a little thinner than the right sugar content, because it's going to be boiling off a little excess water during the process. So that's a process that has a learning curve to it. After you skim, you got to bang the foam off your skimmer. So that's our nasty looking foam there. Starts to smell nice as you get further along. It's getting there. So this is our third boil today. First boil was like 54 gallons. Then last week was like 18 gallons. Today we'll probably have around 20 gallons. I see. Your sap has a lot less sawdust in it than mine does. Hard to see sometimes what's happening in there. We certainly seem to be coming along quickly. It's only been like 45 minutes since we started boiling, and going through a lot of sap quick. Hot air balloon over there. I don't think I've seen that one before.
Time to go.
Retreat to a safe distance. As it gets more concentrated, we combine pans. So we've got water in the front and back pans now, and just sap, or partial syrup in the middle two pans. So we'll probably have to combine them again soon. Have to go a bit slower at this stage of the process. So we combined it to one pan, but the foam was starting to get out of hand really quickly. So we had to pull it out and put it in the stock pot, where we'll have more control on the stove. So, and there's the dregs dripping through the filter.
Pretty sludgy.
Yeah, kind of sludgy. So there we are, looking very pretty. 7.8 gallons per hour today. This is not fully done. It's maybe slightly thin at this point. Just putting in the kindling for boil number 4.
Good way to take care of that pesky ice.
Yeah. There's a pretty big block there though, but it's melting through pretty quickly. It's not really seriously raining, but it's been sprinkling all day. Sometimes the wind will, push the steam out, and sometimes it just does this. Chris has his head in the clouds.
Yep. How's the weather up here?
A little warm.
A little humid. Look at that sludge in the boat. Look how dark that is.
So we figured 6.5 gallons per hour today. It does seem like the evaporation is a little slower in humid weather, but try to have plenty of water in the pans in between uses of the evaporator because we put some burnt sugar on the sides, and so this gives it a chance to soak.
Pretty sludgy. That's what the filter's for.
Yeah, it's going away. We're on boil number 5. Well, it's just starting to boil now. One day after boil number 4, but it's like almost 60 degrees and lots of sap from some of the trees, and a couple of my trees are not producing. So just maybe the end of the season, we'll see. We've got, 10.5 gallons or something like that. We'll probably have more by the end of it. Hey, the maple syrup season is done, but I thought I'd give you a little tour of my evaporator. So you can see I have the fire bricks leaning up against the sides here. I got the rusty old steel pipes here. Fresh air can get through there, get into the back, and it gets heated up as it goes through. That helps reburn the smoke. And you can see that it ramps up in the back here. This is basically just sand, and there's probably some old concrete block parts in there. This part of the chimney I just fashioned out of sheet metal, and actually this is the bottom track of a metal stud, 2x6 size, and then got a couple angle iron pieces here which provide a more stable structure. When I'm using this during the year, I'll have some weights like this stuff here sitting on top of that, make sure it doesn't tip over. Just regular flue pipe. We've got a damper. So that's the basic setup. We redid this at one point because some of the blocks broke in the heat, and at that point I added the fire bricks, and those help a lot. Haven't had any problems since then with blocks breaking. These blocks are not really made to withstand this kind of heat, so that is a concern. Great. So these pans are called steam table pans. They're used at buffets everywhere, and so any restaurant equipment supplier will have these. And also you can get them on Amazon, of course. And last I checked, it was about 30 bucks each. But if you wanted to buy in bulk, you might get a better price. They don't come with handles. I think I saw a maple syrup supplier that was selling them with handles at a significantly higher price. These are something that I added. They're just stainless steel drawer pulls for cabinets. They didn't come with stainless steel screws though, so I changed out the screws. So those are a big help because you do have to pick these up and dump them into a pot or dump them into one of the other pans eventually. So good to have handles. If I had a large operation where I was boiling a lot of sap and making a lot of syrup, this wouldn't really make sense. It would make perfect sense to have one large pan, and of course, the more professional operations, they have more complicated pans with different sections and all that, and a tap on it and so forth. They can get pretty fancy. But at a small scale, having a modular system where you have, in my case, 4 small pans does make a lot of sense, because as you get it boiled down, if it's spread out over a large pan, it's not going to be deep enough, and that's going to be a major problem and cause burning and so forth. But with the small pans, you can just condense it all to one pan and just put water in the other pan so they don't burn. There are some pretty nice evaporators for hobbyists out there. The nice ones tend to be expensive. So this is an affordable option. A lot of people go with a more economical option, which basically consists of a 55-gallon drum made into a stove. You know, it's laying down on its side, and it has space for 2 of these steam table pans cut into it. Chris's friend has one of those, and it's definitely not as efficient as this. You know, and there's a cost to it too. I think they run around like $350, something like that. So that's an option. I would recommend trying something like this. You know, there's a cost to the materials and all that, but it's been pretty reasonable. So in the off season, what I'll do is I'll just take the pans, put them here, flip them over, so they're not filled up with water the entire time and breeding mosquitoes. So that's about it for now. I hope you enjoyed this view into the world of making syrup. See ya.